73 chairs had been set out in the municipal hearing room. They were the folding kind the city used for everything: zoning meetings, school board complaints, budget sessions that stretched too long. On that afternoon they held veterans in worn jackets, families clutching photographs, reporters with notebooks balanced on their knees. I chose a seat near the back. From there I could see the memorial committee table clearly. My father sat at the center, a small brass nameplate in front of him, identifying him as chairman. He looked composed, comfortable in the role. I had seen him run meetings like this since I was a kid: school boards, veterans events, charity drives. He had a way of speaking that made people trust the structure of what he said. He adjusted his papers and began. The topic was the memorial wall outside the courthouse. A long slab of dark granite, listing the names of a county who had died in service. He spoke about responsibility, accuracy, the importance of honoring sacrifice properly. No one objected to any of that. Then he reached the part I had come for. There has been a correction, he said. He explained that one name on the wall had been placed there incorrectly years earlier. After review, the committee had decided to remove it. Mine. The replacement, he explained, would be my brother's. There was a quiet murmur in the room when he said his name. People remembered my brother. My father continued calmly. She has never deployed, he told the 73 people sitting in those folding chairs. She works a desk job in Washington. His voice held the tone of someone clarifying a misunderstanding. It wasn't anger, it wasn't even criticism. Just certainty. The kind of certainty that had shaped most of our conversations when I was younger. I watched him from the back row while he explained the decision. He talked about fairness, about making sure the wall represented real sacrifice. A few people nodded. Others glanced around, unsure what to make of it. I had known about the removal order for 3 weeks. It had arrived as a short email from the committee office. Formal language, administrative tone, name reassignment pending verification. At the time I had stared at the message longer than I expected. Not because of the wall. Because my father had signed it. At the table, he finished explaining the correction. For a moment it seemed the hearing might simply move on. Then a chair scraped lightly in the third row. A woman stood. Until then she had been completely unremarkable in the room, navy blazer, neutral expression, listening quietly. Now 73 people turned toward her. She reached into her blazer pocket. At first I assumed she was pulling out a phone. Instead she opened a badge wallet. The room changed in the subtle way rooms do when authority becomes visible. She identified herself calmly. Federal Bureau of Investigation. No raised voice. No drama. Just a clear statement that she needed to clarify part of the public record. My father blinked once, caught slightly off balance. She spoke carefully. The way someone does when every word matters. Certain operational details regarding my service, she explained, could not be discussed in a public hearing. Because they were connected to ongoing investigations. The room went very still. She didn't look at the audience. She looked directly at the committee table. Then she said something that shifted the air in the room. My name appeared on a federal priority list connected to 3 international captures currently under sealed case files. No details followed. None were offered. But the phrase itself carried enough weight. The reporters stopped writing for a moment. The veterans in the front row exchanged small glances. My father looked across the room at me. Not the quick recognition from earlier. This time he looked longer. As if searching for a version of me he understood. The FBI agent continued, her tone measured. Because of those investigations, she explained, public characterization of my duties as administrative was inaccurate. And because the work remained active, the memorial committee did not have sufficient grounds to revise the record. She closed the badge wallet. Then she sat back down. The room stayed quiet for several seconds. My father shuffled the papers in front of him slowly, though he wasn't reading them. For the first time since the meeting began, he seemed unsure where the next sentence should go. One of the other committee members leaned toward him and whispered something. Finally he cleared his throat. The hearing, he said, would be suspended pending further verification. People began standing, the folding chairs clicking as they closed. Outside the courthouse, the late afternoon light had softened. Small groups gathered along the sidewalk, speaking in low voices about what they had just heard. I stepped outside and stood near the edge of the steps. A few minutes later, my father came out. He stopped beside me. Neither of us spoke immediately. Cars moved slowly through the intersection across the street. The memorial wall was visible from where we stood, the names etched into the granite catching the light. He looked at it. Then back at me. "I didn't know," he said quietly. It wasn't defensive. It sounded more like someone realizing the limits of a story they had been telling for years. "There were things I couldn't explain," I said. He nodded once. For a long time he had believed there were only two kinds of service, visible and absent. Now there was a third category he hadn't considered. He looked again toward the wall. "So your name stays," he said. "For now." That was the official answer. We stood there another minute. Then he exhaled slowly. Like someone adjusting to a map that no longer matched the terrain. "I guess," he said. "I didn't understand what you were doing all this time. I watched the late sunlight move across the stone. Most people don't," I said. And for once, he didn't argue with that.